Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Hope everyone had a good Shabbos. As we begin a new week of learning, please continue davening for Chalei Tzvah Gana Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol Petzua Yisrael, and the safe return of our hostages. Dedicating our learning each and every day, Le'ili Nishmat, Saren Daniel Shemin, Arav Durno V'Shelei Shemikum Damo. The next chapter, Ashkenazim Shemispalim B'mivta Sefaradit. She'ela Dome, Hisor B'kerev Ole Ashkenaz Matzibur Hadat Haleumi. So, a question arises in those who are in the community, let's say, of Ashkenaz, in the religious Zionist community. Lefnei Kishlosha Doros, Im Tchilas Kibbutz Galia. So before 3 generations, with the beginning of people coming back to Israel, gathering of the exiles, Ratzu HaChalotzim L'mazeg Es HaGalios, so the original pioneers, they wanted to get rid of the diaspora, get rid of the exileness, if that's a word, and to return the Jewish nation to its original Hebrew. So then they chose what's called Havarat Ashkenazis. So when you speak Israeli, you speak Havarat Ashkenazis, even if you speak Ashkenazis, but nobody speaks Hebrew Ashkenazis, nobody speaks Ivris. We speak Ivrit. So even though according to Rav Kook and most poskim, every community has to safeguard its own pronunciation when it comes to tefillah, but actively speaking in actuality, since the Hebrew that is spoken and that is learned in schools is with Havarat Sefaradit, so that became entrenched in davening as well. And even many of those who headed the educational institutions of the religious Zionist community, they guided their Ashkenazi students, according to, it was the minority opinion at the time, to daven with Havarat Sefaradit. And there are those that spoke out very strongly against changing from Ashkenazis to Sefaradit. And there are those that ruled, they ruled that someone who is difficult for him to say the entire davening with an Ashkenazi Havara, Yivate Hashem Hagay Ashkenazis. At least you should pronounce Hashem's name with the Havara of Ashkenazit. Shebeshem Hashem Bolet Yoser Yitrona Hadiktuki. Because when it comes to the Shem Hashem, so therefore we have to be more exacting. So it might be the way, let's say you have Hashem's name, Ado, and then it's followed by Noi, whether you say Noi or Nai, something like that, is the difference between Ashkenazit and Sefaradit. Ulam Lamaisa, but practically speaking, the rabbis and the leaders of those communities do not encourage, or we don't press our students to change their pronunciation. Since they're both equally kosher, and this is how everyone speaks, then there's no obligation to pressure yourself to go back to the original way it was pronounced generations ago. And if you're thinking about how to go this way, that way, how to pronounce it, and if it disrupts you from the davening and the concentration, it's better not to change the pronunciation. And someone who already davens with a Sephardic Havara, it's better that he should say Hashem's name with that as well, so that he shouldn't mix up the different pronunciations. And some say that if you mix up the pronunciations, you may not even be Yotzei B'di'eved. And that is the custom in Israel. People daven with Havarat Sefaradit. I'll just tell you that I'm sure we'll get to this in a little bit, but it's very obvious. Let's say you have in our midst, where in our modern Orthodox yeshivas, where they are learned with Havarat Sefaradit, and sometimes the boys, let's say, go off to yeshiva, and sometimes they'll go to a more Haredi type yeshiva where they daven Ashkenazis. So they say with a suf and a kamat, and they are ingrained, they've been taught with Havarat Ashkenazis. So when they come back and you catch them davening for the Amud, they get so confused. And sometimes they'll say suf, sometimes they'll say tough. So that's much worse than switching, is doing both at the same time. So one has to be consistent. That's where it's really important, because otherwise it could distract from the tefillah. And if you're listening to it and you're a stickler like I am, it also distracts me from my tefillah. So if you're going to daven for the Amud, you should at least be consistent. So that's part of this pronunciation, but a very important halacha nonetheless. So thank you so much for joining again this week. Please continue davening for Chalei Tzvah G'nai Yisrael, for Shalom L'Chol Petuei Yisrael, and safe return of our hostages. Ili Nishmat Sarah Daniel Shimon Har Adron Mishal Shem Damo. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much.